Oh, we got a banger. This is going to be a fun one. SAS versus B. What an unexpected outcome as we're going deeper. Not necessarily these two being the quarterfinals, but the story's being woven here. Kiljardi already in the grand finals. Elyona waiting in the semifinals for one of these two. Some familiar faces that didn't sign up this week, other ones that fell victim early on. We kick off, as always, with King of the Hill. Apologies, my throat is coming a little bit hoarse. We've been going for several hours. I think we're approaching like 8 hours live. And my wonderful daughter and partner have clearly got me ill. My partner, literally last night, slept facing me, coughing. Thanks, Emma. But we'll see who's going to be coughing and bloodied after this one. Roos H3 opening. I really like this from B. H3 hasn't been leveraged here very often, but when it has, it's been impressive. I think the best game so far on this map for Holy Roman Empire has to go out to our boy Cal. Phenomenal game one against Lash. If you haven't seen that, definitely keep an eye out on the YouTube. I think it's uploading very soon, if not already up. But H3 Roos, Sassy's probably thinking Pro Scouts, and I don't like that if that's the case. I think this is a great start. He's got 18 sheep. Pro Scouts would be insanely greedy. And although it's your instinctive feeling to do it as Roos, against HRE, if you go Pro Scouts here, I think it opens you to a push. I'd actually love to see that from B. I think the way you play H3 here isn't just naked fast castle. It's too predictable. Roos can pseudo-mirror you, and then on top of that, horse archers will just run you through in the mid-game. But if you blow archers, spears in the feudal age, there's not really much that Roos should be able to do outside of outplaying you there. How do you guys feel about this? I'm checking the predictions now. 76% for B, so we do have a lot of Holy Roman Empire believers. I mean, I believe it, right? Like, this is definitely a Civ that's proven itself time and time again, and B, he loves these minework builds. This is great. Okay, so this is really smart, because now if Roos do just fast castle without Pro Scouts, the blocker play is Horsemen. Horsemen with all pikes are going to do substantial damage. And this is indeed live. In fact, let me update from next to live because we are in... This is probably the final set of this wonderful Tuesday. Sass already idle? Good eyeballs. Oh, what? Oh my god, he missed macroed. And he knows it. There was gaps there because he just didn't have food, and then there's gaps where he forgot. That's pretty big. B's about, what, 1.4 villages ahead? And, you know, that's great for him because the weakness of Minework is you have to sacrifice villages to produce prelates. Now he won't be behind on raw count, but he'll be definitely ahead in terms of eco advantage. That's crazy. I wasn't expecting this early. You know, like, there are certain players in the earlier rounds that we've seen this from, the lack of consistent TC production. But Sassy is definitely not one of the players I would have expected this to happen with. Especially so early in the game. Usually this early on, you're not focused on too much else. Looks like we are getting Pro Scouts as well. I think he's going to get ran through. Yeah, B's already prepping the racks. You know, he had two choices here. He could have fast castle Burgrave, but he just doesn't have the food for that. It wouldn't have been optimal. So instead he's going to play clean into pressure. Now, this is interesting because here's a funny thought for you guys. Pro Scouts doesn't look that OP against HRE. Agree or disagree? Here's the thought. Usually, Scouts can't get counted out by spears because they're too slow. In walks a man wearing speedy sports sneakers. Like, the difference in movement speed is good enough that Scouts can't just get away with the deer. They have to play away from you entirely. I really like this. It's smart. And on top of that, B can wallop even harder, right? Like, Bloomery's very cheap, so we might see that coming in around like 6 or 7 spears. H3 spears are the best in feudal? Yes. Like, it's the movement speed, man. Like, I can't emphasize this enough. Movement speed wins video games. It's ridiculous how impactful it is. Just think about the Cataphract change when they buffed that movement speed. It changed everything about the outlook of that unit. Sofas, when they first came out, felt ridiculous because of that. Same with the Scouts. Limitane and Donzo. So HRE have the dictatorial ability to decide where they fight in a way that Limitane and Donzos don't. Spearmen are, like, HRE Spearmen, if they walk into the wrong place, they're very hard to pinch, right? Because they can just walk out of range so quickly. There's just so many elements to it. Add in the fact that, like, HRE economy is better. Like, you could argue in a vacuum maybe, like, Donzo beats HRE Spearmen because A or B. It's fair, right? Like, if you had an A-click fight of one spear from HRE and one spear from Malians, the Malian spear would win. So would the Limitane, actually. And then the Donzo would beat both. Because the hybrid attack and then the fact that they have +1 armor. But we don't talk about these things in a vacuum like that because that's not how AoE4 works. You have to take the Civ in its entirety. This Civ has a lot of firepower. Usually it's something like the Arkin. In this game, it's going to be the aggressiveness that comes out of these techs potentially, like Bloomery, the all pikes as well. In fact, this is definitely going to be all pikes. We've got Horsemen coming. Pro Scouts as well, so B is going to look to snatch and grab on a delay. I love this. Archery reaction is coming out from Sass, so B got exactly what he wanted out of him. The cool thing about this, the complementary element, is the value play of going this route, forcing your opponent to archers, allows the Horseman follow-up, which justifies that all pikes tech, the unique one in the mine work, that gives you +2 damage. And, yes, good catch there. Sorry, didn't update that. It's a best of 3, not a best of 5. Thank you very much. Spear clash begins. Horsemen have arrived, though, and that is bad news for Sass. He knows it as well. Has to head home. Man, he's struggling for food here. Hasn't been able to pick up the deer over here. Barely touched these. In fact, if we check underneath the TC, has he even got any? Maybe one? I don't think he's got any, guys. He's going to try to bring him back now. Looks like maybe one will be brought home, or one would have to be picked up. Okay, so this is really important. He is getting a lifeline. Critical as well. B definitely overextending. We do have archers coming, though. And sad. Okay. B is just kind of playing him a step behind time and time again. All pikes is coming. We do have archers being prior as well. Remember, Sass with this build hasn't necessarily got the wiggle room to make blacksmiths feel good. Meanwhile, B has already saved 150 wood on that. Not to mention the 50% discounts and speed techs because it's my work. This is looking pretty hard for Sass right now. He's going to be blacksmithing on the front side. That's going to be obvious to be. In fact, he should be seeing it now. Yeah, he gets a glimpse. So he knows techs are coming, but he knows those techs can be nowhere near as quick as his. Undermesh has already been queued up. You see it's only 27 seconds away right now. Other annoying thing about HRE, and movement speed being king, right, is this trickle of troops just arrives so much quicker. So the next counterplay comes into the picture much quicker than Sass is comfortable with. It's such a frustrating Civ for this reason. You know, it's not just the economy, it's the dynamics at work. The movement speed is a really big deal. Never a detail to be overlooked or nose turned up at. I do think B needs to blob more archers. And also, what? Have we got enough prelates here? Okay, he's fixing it. He's got a third one on the way. Remember, you can buff 9 of your villages. He's got way too many right now. So, adjusting his economy as we speak. Going to be important for that new influx of wood. We do not have wheelbarrow, but we do have enough villages nearby he can shuffle down. It's just going to be awkward if he goes beyond 15 woodworkers. Berries on the backside are almost exhausted. Just to get more food back ASAP. Looks like Sass may have overextended here. He's out of position. Ooh, I don't think he can force his way out of this. He's going to try. There's actually more archers for B. And also the blacksmith tech is already there. The undermesh, right? B not even bombing the steel dagger yet. Remember, we do have the all pikes tech. So essentially 2 levels of melee attack. Archer versus the 7. Horsemen are keeping reinforcements at bay. I think B's playing this well, but not well enough. Sassy is getting way too much deer for him. Yeah, and part of the reason is because B is doing that classic thing off of Pro Scouts. He's not actually scouting his opponent. He didn't notice that they ran him through like that. Otherwise, the Horsemen would have went across. Archers are going to be able to trade out the spears. Horsemen being held in reserve. I mean, Sass is doing a good job to not just flat out die here, but it's so difficult from this position. 6 horsemen is a powerful number at this stage of the game, especially with the undermesh already there, which is so key. The fact that Sass went undermesh first just kind of feels problematic. I get why he done it, but it just means you're dying slower rather than maybe getting an edge off a steeled arrow. Good snatch and grab there. Looks like Sass did switch it up on the south side. Got some more deer through. Okay, but we have to really assess this for what it is. It is a Pro Scouts win for B. He still has all the deer over here to play with, right? And then he snatched, what, 3, I want to say, maybe? 3, 4 deer from Sass's side. So that does mean that B has more food to work with. This drags out. Really important as well because Roos, of course, won the opener by going onto the sheep. You love the new just ignore the hill meta? Oh, yeah. And it's like, it's an interesting one because we said we revisit Hillendale, sorry. That's crap map. King of the Hill because of the changes to Siege in Season 9, but it's also because of the changes to walling. Walling is so difficult now. Even on a map like this, it takes substantially longer. Straight out is coming in. 11-11 archers. Got to be very careful because you are diving into Sassy's production line. Yeah, a little bit negligent the way that B approached that. Now an opening. Sass, check this. He's got knights coming. So B should just be safe with longer food sources. I don't like this. This is horrible to watch. Got 5 farms added in. The awkward part about this is the prelate. Like, there's too much for him to buff, right? He can only buff, what, 66% of that economy? It feels like he's not bringing enough deer home fast enough. Sass is getting baited out into the mid-map here. All pikes are ready to rock and roll. Horseman going to dive in. Spearman trying to deal with that fast, but archers are just shrinking the numbers. First knight has arrived, though. B needs to mop this up fast. The horsemen just need to focus far on this. I think the problem is kind of recurring here in that B is just taking fights without the full army here, but at the end of the day, the true numbers lying in the battlefield still favor him. The worry now is you have to go back for spears. Yeah, I can't help but feel that this was a mistake, not having Bloomery a little bit sooner. I mean, what's the maths in it? So, I guess it doesn't make that much of a difference on the archers, right? Like, you do 20 damage per strike, you're always going to kill them before. That's probably why B didn't rush Bloomery. But now that he sees a need for spears, I think that's why he's prepping it. Wait, is he going to just ego chow? Because mathematically, that isn't as tragic as you'd think. Right? 19 damage versus 12. And then, of course, that 12 goes down to 9. So it's 18 damage versus 19. You have more health collectively between the 2 horsemen than the knight. Your attack speed is admittedly worse, but not ridiculously so. It's only 0.25 seconds. I think this works. It's pretty smart, right? The last thing you want to be doing is building into spears because then your opponent has you countered already, neutered. So if he can swarm horsemen to beat the knights, he then beats the archers as well. Okay. Sass confidently now starting to stride out, but is this going to be a mistake? Quick wall comes up just in time. The archers are going to be able to snipe a few. B has to commit now. Knight is going to be able to sneak in, so it looks like B is going to lose a few villages here. No wheelbarrow to work with. However, what B can do with this is wipe the army and then head into Sass's base. I think that was an overextension. Sass, he didn't respect the fact that he was winning these fights because it was so close to his base. Now we approach the 50-50 point in the map, you just see how big the difference is. B, although he was going to lose a few villages to this Knight Raider, the reality is that Sass is about to lose a lot more. Resources are starting to stockpile a bit. It looks like Sass also forgot to get survival techniques earlier than this point. Archer Blob's beginning to get scary. B does need to rally the rest forward. The horsemen need to support this push. At this point, B, he can even invest everything into the castle push, or the feud push rather, or go castle, right? I think either one is open to him here. Does feel a bit weird the way he's committing too soon, though. Right, like, you'd think B, the last time he done this, last 2 times, in fact, it lost him the Vige. Just slow down. Blob, right? Like, your military might is much better because your economy is so much stronger. Like, it's 5 prelates now, and he's only behind by 3 villagers. In fact, Sass, has he been missing more villager production? I feel like he must have. The maths doesn't support these numbers. Considering the amount of prelates in here, right? Like, you've sacrificed 4 of production. It should be 8 up, but then you lost 3 workers, right? Even finding freebies. Wait, what? Oh, no! He ruled him out! Game 1. Mine work is doing the work, baby. A new era of H3 needs to be upon us, man. I'm telling you, mine work is a beaut to watch. Really powerful set of tools in its arsenal. Really smart way that B played this. Has he convinced anyone? Like, this is a really interesting transitional play. With the Spearman opening being on the rise for the HRE, I'm starting to believe more and more that mine work could very well be the way to go. There, it's locked in. I'm even going to carve it into my heart of my YouTube. Once it's there forever. If we reach 700 average viewers across a month, if that becomes consistent, we will carve out a day each week to begin the KP Road to Conquer series. For now, we already have our Conk boys, though. B versus Sass. Game number 2, and Sass actually in a fairly good matchup here. Byzantines versus Chinese is one that's historically looked pretty good. China has changed the way it plays recently, though, and I'm wondering how effective the old Byzantine builds are going to be against Pro Scouts China. We are on Borderland, a really good map for Pro Scouts. In fact, most of the picks have prioritized the ability to play into the Deer Gathering. Reason being, there's actually a lot on the map, remember. There is the natural 28, but then you've got an extra 6 to work with. So, first things first, rotations are going to be really important here. B has got a decent amount out of it, actually. Sass, he's sitting at 10. He has rotated around the back of his opponent's base. This is really good. Sass can actually just cut B off really well here. It's difficult to do against China because they have the extra vision. They can see you sooner. So, if B is quick to react, he can dodge Sassy's vision, but it's so difficult to do. And yet he tries a little bit too late there. So, now, considering the timings, B's going to be aware that Sass must have darted across to the backside of the map, which means he can check the center to guarantee there's nothing here, and then go southward. Well played. I mean, this is the oppressive nature of China, right? Like, you see what we talk about with the vision so often now, right? Like, 25% doesn't sound like a lot. When you look at the difference in tower range, it doesn't seem like a lot. But just an extra 2 seconds of reaction time makes a huge difference. It just allows you to get in front of your opponent. Sass is going to do the best he can to cut off that south side. Actually, it looks like he maybe realized what happened here, that B went on to the north. So great read by him. But Sass is already shadowing. Oh, wait, what? I'm a little bit confused by what B's doing here. Okay, I guess he wants to see if Sass is... Yeah, he wants to know if he's doing Hippodrome, I think. Because realistically, you want to be going south side now to gather extra sheep. It might be that he just doesn't think Sass done the back of his base, which is pretty smart, considering you saw him at the back of yours. But, I mean, there's 2 sheep here, right? Meanwhile, down here, there has to be, what, 4? Maybe more? Wait, is there really only 2? Okay, that's a scam spawn. Still, B got nothing out of that. So in the end, after what looked like a really good rotation, Sass is probably going to end up with more sheep. Or like, what, even? Because B just picked up 2 more, and Sass should now be able to go south side. Tech Up's coming out. We have got Imperial Academy, pretty much your bread and butter. China's never going to do anything else. You're so hyped for the DLC? Hell yeah. People keep asking me, and I'm like, I don't know. They don't tell us anything. Wish they did. Actually, I kind of wish they didn't. As I know there are people who would leak whatever they tell, which I don't want to happen. I hate that. I mean, maybe. Just secretly tell me, though. Like, that could work. Winky face. Like, I don't know. I'm just going to say, if Microsoft and World's Edge want to do a show this year about all the Age of Empires news coming. Call me? Maybe we could work together on presenting it? So Pro Scout's coming in. Stats, of course, isn't going to be going for that. If he was, it would have been Hippodrome. System level 2 is being initiated. We should be seeing in this matchup West End Contract. The only issue now is because B's going for the stables, it might make you a little bit paranoid, but you can just play Limitane Lombo pretty confidently. The alternative is you go Horseman Lombos, and the logic on why that can work is like China will struggle against the higher pen damage of Lombos in conjunction with you already having horses. Limmy's definitely safer. When is the release date of the DLC? I will tell you the release date of the DLC when we get 1,000 subs in a month. Oh, sorry. Yeah, score wasn't flipped. B did win game 1, just to clarify for people. My apologies. It's been a long day. We must have missed that when we flipped the score. That had you questioning it for a second. Yes, very dominant game from B on the HRE. China's definitely a really solid pick. Like, anyone who is used to seeing the Byzantine Doom posts is probably looking at this going, wow, I mean, how could China ever win? Very easily. China is super effective, man. I think they are the most subtly broken, if that makes sense, right? Like, we know very obviously why Byzantines is broken. We know very obviously why HRE can feel broken. We know why English can be ridiculous. We definitely know very obviously why Delhi are. But China just has all these subtle nuances about the mechanics, really gravitating around the Imperial Academy and the Imperial Official that makes them an absurd civ because of how good they are at escalating now. Probably around early, mid-April, according to season length and some hints from devs and content creators. I mean, the content creators are guessing, but the guess is like what we call an informed guess, right? Speculation based on the logic of when seasons end. When a season ends is a reasonable time to assume DLC. One thing I would curb on the reserved nature of is you have to realize that the DLC hasn't even been announced yet. It's been said there's going to be a DLC. It hasn't been announced what's in it. So what I could see being more likely is they'd be like, hey, we're bringing all these things, or like maybe revealing the name of the DLC and giving some hints about the civs that will be in it, but then saying it's going to come out around this time, like Gamescom, for example. Which, by the way, there's a really smart marketing play if they bother to take that direction, which is you could then, as Microsoft, rent a booth at Gamescom and do a DLC launch tournament where you could have an amateur tournament where anyone could come in and play, but then also have a stage area where some of the top players from maybe 4 are invited to compete at Gamescom. I know, I'm really good at these ideas. Microsoft, huh? And yes, you know what? It would be a good idea to have a host. Who could they use? So Archer play coming in from B. This is pretty standard for China at the moment. You don't just rush Yuga Nu, but down the line you can play Song if it proves worth it. Sass has got the Lombos already queued. I actually like the way he delayed going into them. He actually went for a 1-1-1 build, but he got the Limitane and Horseman out, baited the reaction, and then he gets Longbows. This is really smart. Like, he kept B off of Horseman. He didn't give him a reason to go for them. Sass, man, this is a sick timing. So first Longbows come out. Steel Dara is there. Second Longbows are queued. They're going to be out pretty damn soon, just 30 seconds out. And this is bad news for B. Like, he did have the stables, right? He could have went for the Horseman at any stage, but he didn't see a justifiable reason. It's crafty because in game 1, we saw B control the triangular counters. He always was one step ahead of Sassy's choice. We're now seeing the opposite, and we're seeing how good Byzantines can be for that reason. Because they essentially get one part of the triangle with an imaginary resource that only exists for them. Love this as well. Explorator is pretty crafty. Worth it if it gets you a few extra snipes on villagers. Shot Limitane are going to overplay their hand slightly, so I'm not sure that's really worth it for Sass. He has at least forced a little bit of time on the back. Now, at this point in the game, we are reaching a very fundamental point for Byzantines. Around 9 minutes, you're either thinking about going Castle Age or committing. So after you see what B has done, he now has two choices. You Judgment Call to go all in, or you Judgment Call to play Armored Units 3rd Age. He's got 2 pumps of Lombos here. He's queuing up more Horsemen and Limtane. It seems like Sass wants to lock this in the Feudal Age. He doesn't want to go Castle. Although he may have overextended. I don't like this position right now. Archers from both sides. Horsemen have to commit in just to get the space. Second group of Lombos have arrived for Sass. I think the timing was off by about 5 seconds here. The second wave might justify it. Moves in now, Horsemen. We have to stick to their targets here. Undermesh is there, so not dying too fast. Archer blob. I'm worried this is too big. The Horsemen are trickling in now. The Lombos are irreplaceable. And Sass is now looking like he's contemplating the castle play, but he's already expended too much recommitting to feudal. Oh man, this is a bit worrisome. B has got more spin coming. Line formation will get the chase down onto the Lombos. He's at least taking out a few archers, but keep in mind B behind this. He's just got pro scouts casually running through the fights unharassed. And if it feels like I'm emphasizing the loss of Lombos too highly, I'm not. Like, this is ridiculous. Losing the Lombos like this loses your comp. You can't replace these easily because the berries are a very finite resource. The timing on Lombos is very slow. The reason why Lombos is about 70% of Byzantine games is because not only are they a very powerful unit, not only do they complement certain elements of the comp like Horsemen so well, it's the fact that it should be the hardest unit to lose, right? Javelins, you could argue that they can skirt away quicker, but Lombos reach a more threatening bulk quicker. Keshiks are in melee infantry, melee cav rather, right? So they can easily get killed. But Lombos, with the longest range of all 3 units, should be the thing dying last. Great read by B. Now the chase is on. Why does AoE 2 have more players than AoE 4? It's a legacy tile with a history that's built up over 20 years, and a lot of people who fondly remember it as a child. Kind of makes sense why they have more troops, more players rather. I think AoE 4 still has the potential to have like more because it's the new game. It definitely becomes harder to achieve that goal every year the game is out there. So Archer's diving in. He did actually snipe a few villagers here. The other more interesting thing to me is that AoE 2 has a drastically larger viewership audience than AoE 4. But I talked about this the other day. It's kind of similar to StarCraft, where a lot of people watch StarCraft instead of playing now, right? It's the logic is as you grow up, instead of playing the game, you're more willing to just watch the game, right? Because you're like, oh man, you know, I like to play this, but also it's just like I don't play it at the same level anymore or whatnot. We're just getting raided, man. Okay, props to him. That was a really good raid. Sass with the Exploratores does get his hands on 2 worker kills. Problem is, like, you're hemorrhaging units in a situation where you're behind on raw military, and your opponent is now barreling towards you with a bigger army. Sass is looking to make a castle play, but I think the timing may not align as he's intending here. The next group at Lombos might give him a reset, though, right? We're going to be talking about 13 Lombos up against 18 archers, and you'll be able to just hide underneath the TC. So B won't be able to commit straight away. He's going to have to make a choice right now on whether he sends it full feudal or goes for the castle play. Because right now, he's dipping his toe in both. Problem with this play is it can delay your overall tech timing, unfortunately, to a disadvantage point. Man, Sass is super paranoid, though. Awesome clash coming in. Wrap around the back, the Lombos. This is the unit you can't afford to lose. And the Limtane count may be a little bit too small here. Villagers are also just gathering in the middle of the fight. He doesn't want to pull away. He's going to regret that. Archers are now targeting them down. And B's eco lead is extending. A counterattack is coming in, but there's no gatherers on the gold. Looks like he does at least keep the Lombos alive, but still plenty of horsemen to play with. Archer's able to retreat. And it feels like Sass is just getting that death by 1,000 cuts approach, right? Glad he's finally realized that Castle is out. The more you try to play this age, the worse it's going to get. Because you're gathering your wood on the front side of your base. He doesn't have any other options now. Do I think AoE 2 has better mechanics? I think it has some cool mechanics. I think both games have their own perks. They have their own cool mechanics. If I had to choose one, I mean, dude, I do AoE4, right? I think AoE2, something that I appreciate about AoE2, and obviously the default mode didn't have it, that's why you have the sped up mode. I do feel that the pacing in the early game is a bit better if you look at the span of the game across multiple years. AoE4's pacing has definitely improved though. A lot. And that's good. Right? Like, nothing feels more underwhelming than 30 minutes of nothing happening. There is maybe an argument to be had that AoE2's late game is better than ours. What do you guys think? Is that a fair point? I think AoE4 still struggles in its late game. It's improving, though. And I think that's what's important. It's not where you start, it's where you end. And Age of Empire 4's late game is drastically improving compared to what it was before. Flash coming in, Archers forced to retreat here. Now, this is a little bit worrisome for B. The pressure is going to be coming down on him hard. Sass committed fully back into the fuel age. But B, the crafty advantage the Chinese has is this. Remember, they can force pump out the Knights super fast here with the Supervise. Taxation is also going to enable them to do so. Veterancy for Archers is also already in, and this is problematic because the Horsemen are not that tanky, and B looks like he's about to push Sassy out in week number 8 of midweek muster. Sass is going to try to trade out and get as many villager kills as possible, but he's nowhere near an age up. The floodgates are about to open. B, Lance is getting queued up. Monk's getting queued up. And I think Sass knows when it's over, right? Like, this game is done. He's trickling longbows into death, and it is not going to be even a dent in B. So far this week, unassailable 2-0. Now another 2-0. The question mark is whether we'll be able to beat Yona to make it to a grand final showdown with Kiljardi. All of that to come in midweek muster number 8. See you in the next chapter.